Hey everyone, to Raising NA, the show where the three of us, fine caster parents, of all of you, we're your dads, talk about North American League of Legends. And on this episode, we got episode 9. We're talking about a lot of postseason stuff. Because in case you haven't heard, this week, all of the regular season of everything just ended
All the regular season of everything just ended.
in NA. I think it's still
I
going
guess the tier
on.
twos count as regular season. I guess we're moving into the
Yeah,
tier
yeah,
one.
I'd say so. I was
Okay,
thinking about it, and
I
I,
like
I
this,
think
Max.
that for Proving Grounds, the UGP is the postseason. I
I
think
like that,
because
Max.
some of the teams already qualified, and it's the last chance. But yeah. Anyway, we're here. How is everyone doing? I feel like we don't usually ask that question, but I need to know how was your brunch date, Mark?
It was good. It was awesome meeting Kellex in person. Super chill. He's actually tall, like really tall. He's like I think he says tall as Cubby, and that threw me off
Ooh.
because for some reason I thought he would be shorter.
Aren't all three of you guys tall? Like
I'm
Kyle, and Ben?
I'm like
They're
barely
all
six
there?
foot.
Axe is the tallest. He's like
Yeah.
6'4", 6'5", I think.
Beast
Yeah,
mode.
his
So
beard looked nice in that picture. He's looking
dude,
good.
his beard is majestic, and Amy had a fantastic suggestion to braid it. I think that would
Ooh.
he would be basically a Viking at that point.
Yeah. I mean, he
But
is he is the Olaf IRL, so
that
that's
that is
him.
very true. I think the only thing though is that from that brunch date is I had a all three of us had different boozy milkshakes, which let's see, Axman had a sea salt caramel milkshake infused with bourbon, and then me and Kellex uh, had kind of a secret menu special boozy milkshake item that's normally not on the menu. It was a
Oh.
um, blueberry and waffle kind of like milkshake, but then infused with gin or Jim's gin. I don't really drink gin, so I'm not familiar with the liquor brands, but it was whimsical. It had a nice little confetti on top, and it was really delicious. It was really sweet. However, my head is in pain now. Um,
Mark, you strike me as the type of person that always orders things that are just off the menu because like you're so cool, you just know. And, like whatever like you got to eat, it's just like, hey, I want the
Yeah,
yada
I
yada
mean, we
yada,
saw we
and
saw that
I'm
Twitter
like,
video where you went and ordered the Myra special, so that
yeah,
is
and I'm just like,
canonically
yo,
true.
this ain't on the menu, and Mark's like, nah, it is, like
No,
one
it
of
is. For
those.
me, it is.
Yeah,
I do really enjoy secret menu items.
yeah,
I'll
because
like
you did
whenever
that
I
at the WEN. Like for that, like
Yeah.
whatever your throat thing was. Like, so this is like the second time I've heard this, and now
so,
I'm running with it.
yeah.
Yep.
So that was thanks to Kari, but I did enjoy that drink a lot. I'm trying to the medicine ball. That is like now my favorite for Starbucks because it's basically just like herbal tea, a little bit of I think mixed with I don't know if it's lemonade or some type of lemon, but it is like ambrosia for your throat. So
Mm.
and or liquid ambrosia, I guess I should say. But yeah, secret menu items. I whenever I like check out food places, I love like looking up reviews and then seeing if like people have like, yo, you should order this or you should order this, and then
So I
especially if it,
was not 100% off. I love
Yeah.
yeah,
that.
no,
It's a
that's it.
nice
Big fan of
cover
that.
up, as we all know that you actually own a chain of 380 speakeasies across the country. So you just know your ins and outs.
Honestly, if that was the case and I hadn't gotten invited to one, I'd be pretty salty.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure he sprinkled in the password somewhere in our conversations.
It's
It's
a
it's
hidden
in the
Easter egg.
Raising It episodes everywhere. Yeah. But
Love it.
anyway, Cubby, how are you?
I'm good.
All right.
Yeah, I had Wednesday through Saturday I worked, so today I was off. Felt good, but it's good to be back here.
Cool.
Wrapping up the regular seasons for LCS Academy, and actually where we're going to start, which is semi-pro, unless there's anything you want
Yeah.
to share right off the bat, Smacks.
Not anything that I haven't been tweeting about. I've been
Had a
tweeting a
fun
lot about
wedding.
TFT.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the wedding was really fun actually. We got to see some friends that I hadn't seen in a long time.
Good.
That was really nice. They had a great wedding. They went to our wedding as well, so that was, I guess, in the past like 5 years, those are the two times we've seen them. So, we were friends in high school, but we don't see each other much anymore.
Got it.
But it was really fun.
Nice.
But, yeah, I've also been playing a lot of TFT, and I think, after talking about it, before we got started, I was like, I should probably start streaming that game because I think that I think I'm just having a lot of fun with it. So maybe that'll happen. I don't know. Anyway, things that did stream this week, we're gonna hop into the proving ground spot, and we're gonna start with the semi-pro side of it, as EGL just wrapped up, and we're getting into UGP, Unified Grand Prix. I believe that starts on the 9th. So, definitely coming up.
A
That's
week from tomorrow. Yep.
yeah. Or wait, is that true?
Yep.
It
A
is.
week
It
from
is
tomorrow.
true. Math. Great. Good job, Mark. So, yeah, are you guys have any initial thoughts about the EGL week?
I perfectly predicted who would be or the quarters. Or no, I perfectly predicted the playoffs and game scores. Minus 100X making it over EGP. That
Yeah,
game score
100.
was flipped.
Let's start there actually, because 100 next. I think that was a pretty sweet surprise there. EG had some really good games up until that point. They started their best of five 2-0 in the semis, which was amazing, and then got reverse swept. But we definitely got to see some really good moments from them. I think the big standout to me was Aspect. I think Aspect had a really good set of days. So I'm pretty excited for that team. Of course, they didn't make it into Proving Ground, so they're going to be at UGP.
Mhm.
But I think that even with all the subs that they had going on, like I think if they make this next week work really well, then Bluster should be able to fit in pretty well, and I'm impressed with Aspect.
Um, it's honestly like I think that like Aspect's like a weird player for me because like I like he's always been slept on, but like the weird part about Aspect is like he just does a lot with a little. So like he's like never gonna like super like stand out in a game. But now like with the jungle swap, like he was kind of asked to step up, and especially like with also Shoryu being out for now and Saskia like still e-subbing in for them. Um, it was fun to watch games where it was more centered around Aspect's play, and like that wasn't ever his role in the team, but it is now. And that was very interesting to me. Um, and in a world where there are a lot of good mid lane prospects, I think that like Aspect kind of he hasn't like been one that we've hyped up too much. We always just kind of say he's slept on.
Hmm.
And I think that he's just kind of continued to prove that he's in the conversation where we have like 5 or 6 mids in semi-pro that are like pretty good.
Yeah,
It's actually a surprisingly strong mid split, especially like when you think about Fire being out, right?
Hmm.
for sure.
Yeah,
I
compared
mean,
to last year too. I don't think when we started having APA in our conversations for top of the mid list, he on Supernova, it looked like he was fine, but he hadn't gotten over the champion pool hump that was plaguing him as he was first competing in semi pro. I think the funny thing about Aspect is him stepping up to more of a carry position was around in similar fashion from 400 Thieves Next when Kenvi and Tenacity got promoted. Because when you think back on that split, Kenvi and Tenacity were the primary carries of that roster, and so a lot of the resources were allocated towards the top side of the map, and Copy was more of a facilitator. And even though people were praising Copy because he was doing a lot, he was also doing a lot for with very little resources. But then when Tenacity and Kenvi went to Academy, sure, NXI stepped in and the resources are still going to the jungle, but then you had Fallen Bandit slash Max Waldo coming in for the top lane role. and they're not taking resources. So suddenly there's a solo lane that is no longer taking as many resources as Tenacity was. So Copy was asked to step up. And so that's where we got a lot of great Syndra gameplay. We got a couple of Blanc games as well during the Scouting Grounds Face It playoffs matches as well.
Out of Zoe too.
Yeah.
Well,
and
we
so-
knew about the Zoe, but the thing about him is that there was always the caveat that, like, hey, this guy peaked number 2 on the ladder. Or, like, this guy's a crazy, like, Zed Silas player, right? Whereas, like, Aspect doesn't have, like, those other kind of, like, tick marks, like, next, like, on his resume that Copy had. And so, like, we weren't exactly surprised when Copy was able to do this. Whereas for me, it was a little bit more surprising to see Aspect, like, step up into more of a carry role and really perform. I thought this is the best tournament I've seen him have so far. I was very impressed.
For sure.
Yeah.
It definitely was. I think that it's really, like, I don't know if it's like about time for that, but because I think that he's had decent showings all throughout this year. But I think you're definitely right, Cubby. This has been his best so far. It's definitely a shame the EGP didn't qualify off of this tournament. They were very close. It's definitely a heartbreaker right there. But I'm pretty confident that they'll be able to do it in the next week. Because I mean, we got a chance to talk with Ido about the way that he approaches coaching too, and he was very complimentary of himself for good reason about the way that he approaches fundamentals, and I think that is the thing that Bluster needs the most right now. So I'm pretty excited to see what they are going to come with in a week's time. I think that's going to be a pretty big one for that tournament. So and maybe Shori will be back too.
Yeah. Also, if you haven't done so yet, check out that Proving Grounds probably with Ido. That was like that was one of my favorite episodes so far. Like talking with him, especially if you enjoy or know the collegiate scene, because we did some reminiscing there.
Well, you and him did. I just kind of listened along with the chat, but that was very fun. I'm mostly just joking.
Yeah. Did he talk about his time with UCI?
Yeah, we talked about all that. It was cool. Yeah, great. So EGL, that's wrapped. Do we have any other like footnotes that we want to cover there?
Wildcard good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was surprised that Wildcard dropped a game to Hunter Next, honestly. But it was quite the game. And yeah.
They also just won another like for fun tournament this week, and they went 10-0 in game score.
I think that team's going to win whatever they play in at the moment.
I think so. They fun fact, have only lost a single series so far as a team, and that was the first series that Brandini stepped in, and it was against, I believe, Maryville.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only one out of their 18 series so far. So yeah, this team is going to be really good when we get to
When was this during
first series of Risen?
Oh, because they were best of 3s, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, lots of asterisks there around their one loss, and no asterisks around the others. So very excited for this team. Of course, we have to wait about a month to see them play again, which is a little bit of a bummer.
Yeah, but they will be having a well-deserved month time of rest. Here's my question to you two, though. So obviously, it's a huge reassurance for Wildcard, Cloud9 Amateur, AoE, and now 100 Thieves Next that they don't have to play in the Unified Grand Prix against bottom academy teams in order to get spots into Proving Grounds. However, there's also the caveat of that you no longer have stage games to like have practice. Like, is there like a trade-off where because you're only relying on scrims for practice and not like stage games that the quality of the team like do you see where I'm getting at? Like is
I think it depends on who they can scrim. Because
sure.
And that's why it's amazing for Wildcard Red that they get a month off, because guess who they're going to scrim?
Yeah.
All the teams that are in Academy playoffs.
Yeah, and maybe LCS teams too. I don't know if they're there. I mean, they have Arrow on their team, so I wouldn't be too surprised.
Yeah. But I don't know what their schedule's like. My guess is they like get a couple, but they have a month like where it is they get to hide everything and just
Sure.
play the teams in academy playoffs and scrims. Like that is unreal experience for them. So, and I think that like for some of the other teams, like I'm not worried about 100 because they're an LCS org and they are probably like helping be a scout team for 100 Academy going into playoffs. Is my guess, or helping with the org, and they'll learn a lot by just helping with everyone else and also just being in the org. Not worried. Same with C9. Not worried.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I
so
imagine C9 Amateur actually gets time to scrim with their academy team. I know Frost
Yeah.
Stars for TSM Amateur, they've scrimmed their sister team in the past, which is why when I don't know who it was we talked to a while back, but when we talked about or asked the EGP team if they scrimmed regularly with their sister team, and there was something I hope I'm not misquoting, but they said something about like, yeah, we scrimmed them a couple times and we got destroyed and they didn't want to scrim with us again.
Oh, that was during the Wisdom tournament, I think, where
Mhm.
they both placed really well. Yeah, I think that they were mostly like being a little funny about it because I'm pretty sure that they actually did scrim a little bit more than that than they were letting on.
Okay.
But
Yeah. Like I said, I don't remember who we spoke with because I wouldn't imagine that would be the case at all. So please don't take what I say as like truth at all. I'm just my head really hurts still
it's
from the
okay.
fucking and I just remember like talking and that I don't know. So I'm
He's
just
mega
going to
minding it.
assume for the benefit of the doubt that every LCS amateur team gets to regularly scrim with their sister academy team at the very least.
Safe assumption.
I can
Yeah.
say that it depends on the org, but the one thing that's guaranteed is they all have access to the same like those resources at times,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where things really help.
Yeah, the interesting thing to me is whether or not Proving Grounds will be allowing Akshan. Because I think that
That's a good
champion's
question.
very good. I think he's very unexplored, but very strong.
I think it's very
And
bullshit.
he
I'm
will
still
not
pissed
be
off about that
allowed.
champion.
He's not going to be allowed in UGP at all. UGP will be on 11.5, 11.15 the whole time, on Tournament Realm the whole time. No Akshan the whole way. So if all of those teams don't get time to play with the new champion and then he's enabled for Proving Grounds, then the 4 teams that qualified off of the tier 2s get some time with that champion. Of course, we have no idea. So that's mostly just speculation. But I do think that champion's going to be pretty good. Anyway, yeah, let's talk about the other teams that qualified just briefly as well. So Cloud9 Amateur, they, I think they've had, I think it's fair to say that EGO has been their worst tournament of the 3.
They finished this in the same place in Cup,
Well, I think
and
to
I'd
be
say Cup
fair,
was a worse tournament for them.
Cloud9 matched up
Right.
against Wildcard Red in quarters. So like
That's true.
and
I
it's a best
also
of
think
3.
the only reason that they took Wildcard Red to 5 in the first place was that they literally weren't scrimming with Bradley that entire week because I was at the LAN with him.
He just came back from Gateway Legends. So
I really think that's the only reason that Wildcard Red, like, that series was close.
That's
yeah.
fair. So maybe there are asterisks over some of the Wildcard Red wins then. But yeah, the Cloud9 amateur team I still think is very good, but after what you mentioned, Cubby, Wildcard Red on form, like clearly dominated them in the quarterfinal. I still think that they're going to be competitive at Proving Grounds. I don't think anyone's thinking otherwise, but um, it's not quite at the same tier as Wildcard Red, and I think that was proven pretty handedly. I don't think anyone is though.
I think if Proving Grounds started tomorrow, I would be surprised if any team besides Wildcard Red finished better than 9th, 12th out of amateur at the moment. I really don't see any matchup where if we take it where it like one of the amateur teams can take 2 best of 3s off of like different academy teams.
Yeah.
I don't like, and there is still room to like grow and improve. But like besides Wildcard Red, I don't see it at the moment, and I think that the top 7 teams in Academy are actually really strong right now.
I agree.
Um,
We're gonna see
so
one of them in UGP actually.
Yeah, no, it's actually
yeah,
it's actually really terrifying that between the race that we had for Immortals and TSM, because no matter it going into that broadcast day, we all 4 of us knew, Kangas included, that no matter who didn't get into the top 6 between Immortals and TSM, they were going to be the heavy favorites and probably winning UGP
Yeah.
in this
I
upcoming
wanna
August.
I wanna see TSM versus Wildcard. Oof. I want to see that series so bad because at this point, that's really the only test that we'll have for Wildcard versus the top teams, and it would be a really good one too. I think that
Well,
series.
why not like FlyQuest Academy or
Well, FlyQuest Academy is not going to be there, so
well,
like,
neither is Wildcard.
oh, you're right. Oh, I'm stupid. I'm stupid.
I'm like, at this point,
Never mind.
the strongest semi-pro teams we have going into UGP are EGP, Zoos, TSM Amateur, AOE Randoms.
And if Resolve gets their shit together, like if they're good, then they're up there as well.
I'm
I don't
not
know if they
going to
are right
say
now.
anything about Resolve so that the motivation kicks in and they turn up, because
Ooh,
I
all right.
I'm well, so okay, so there's other teams too. So like Maryville University is also a potential one because you have really strong players on that, individuals on that roster. I'm also looking at man,
I think Wildcard Black could be competitive.
no. I mean, like, the
I
thing
think
is
they
that
can.
the top half of that map, like I said, is insanely strong and insanely good. But after Minui left, I mean, maybe Psycho can get up to speed on this. I hope Wildcard Black have been having good results scrims this past month, since OQs screwed him over with the best of 1 and they didn't get in for EGL. So, because I want that team to do well, man. I really do. And you too should know more than anyone that I want that team to succeed.
I think they're going to be competitive. I don't know if they're going to get a spot, but I think they're going to have some good games.
so there are 6 spots available. We don't know the bracket. We know the 4 Academy teams that are in.
We do know the bracket.
Yes, we do.
Oh, we do.
Yes.
I went
I'm
through
gonna-
resources and I didn't get the link.
I'm going to link this in chat. So if you're watching on Twitch, you get the sneak peek. That's the
Jesus
bracket.
Christ.
For anyone who's interested, we do have it all. They did flip it this time for the losers bracket, so that's going to be nice. Also, if you lose in the first round, you do go to the losers bracket. So those are the main
Woo!
differences.
There's no single limb in the first round, Pogger.
I guess the other main difference is that there is a 5th-6th match because it matters for seeding. So all of that's going on. And yeah, we do in fact have the resources, so that'll be useful to.
Do you
to
guys
check out.
want to do a mock, what is it, March Madness bracket again?
Sure. Yeah, I think this will be pretty easy, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
So let's just dive right in then. So let's go top to bottom. TSM I think wins the whole tournament, so I'm taking them there.
Sure.
Do you guys disagree?
Yeah,
All right, I'm taking that as a no.
I think Zoos win.
You think Zoos win the whole thing?
Mhm.
Ooh,
Ooh.
that's dope. You know,
Okay.
that is. See, what was the UGP finals we had? It was Solafide and
Norg.
Norg clapped them.
True.
It was.
Okay, so why do you think Zoos win?
So TSM are still playing around with figuring out their mid, and they're playing with 2 different styles mid. based on Takeover and Sword, with pretty much the general gist being Sword's going to give resources and play for team, Takeover's going to take resources and play for himself. While I think that Cody-san, Yursan, Hanser are pretty good and are going to be better than the vast majority of people they're going up against, I think Zeus is actually the best team in this tournament. Like, I know that a lot of, like, their play hasn't looked the greatest at times in semi-pro, but let's also keep in mind that they've pretty much been gate-kept by Wildcard Red for the majority of this season, with
And
a
AoE.
bad loss to AoE here and there as well. Now, the reason that I have faith in Zeus is that I think that the only two teams that like have true contention to win this tournament are them and TSM Academy, not Amateur. I think Golden Guardians could also make a run because I think that their bracket is actually really, really easy.
You think they're going to be in winners finals, Golden Guardians?
Yeah, I think they get out of
Oh,
that
yeah,
side of
yeah,
the
yeah.
bracket.
Yeah, Golden. Yeah.
So, but I think that Zeus, I have a lot of faith in Alorum. I think that Alorum can make sure that Hanser doesn't take over a game. And I think that they like have a good matchup with either COG or Wildcard. And then they have a decent matchup against TSM, who I think AoE and Maryville would be like not a tough game for them, but might actually give them a run for their money and like force, like at least force them to reveal more of their strategies. And I think Zeus are like an experienced team that can punish that. And I think that Rhino can actually, I have faith in Rhino against Yursan. I think that Yursan was dominating Academy supports, but I actually think that like the bottom half of Academy supports are very weak this split. And I think that Rhino has actually played much better than quite a few of the Academy supports. And so I think
agree
that,
with you on that.
I think
but
that he can
still think your son's crazy good.
Yeah, he is. He's had a really good split, but I also think he's taking advantage of bad play with Cody-san. And as critical as I've been of Raheen, Rhino, and Lane, things have gotten better. And I know that the results haven't shown for Zeus, but I think that this is the tournament where they show those results. And I think that with their draw, they have a very good chance of being a top two, like one of the top two amateur teams that gets out. And I think that my bold take is that they're the first team that gets out. Somewhat bold, but I have faith.
I think making it to winners finals, maybe making it to upper finals gets you a spot. Hold on, let me do the math real quick.
It's supposed to be the 6 spots, right? So, grand finals, losers finals is 3.
Make winners finals, you're in. That was just like last time.
Yeah,
The
well,
question
yeah.
is if you make upper round of 3. That.
Oh, they did the numbers. Wait, hold on a second. So this is.
Wait, they totally messed this
Oh.
up.
Yeah, so the numbers when it gets down to lower round 4 are wrong. We'll have to bring that up. I don't know. I'm not gonna do that
Winners
right now.
finals for sure gets you in because that guarantees you a top 3.
Yes, true.
What the fuck? Wait.
Yeah, so they ruined the numbers. We'll bring it up to them
No,
later.
it's yeah. But I think that if you make it to best of 5s, then you probably make it. No.
I think that's true.
I think upper round 3.
No, because lower round 4.
Up around
1, 2.
We're gonna have to talk to the UGP
One-
people
yeah.
after this.
1, 2.
I didn't look at
3.
this hard. Oh man.
4. Well, okay, wait. So it's the 5th, 6th place match. That determines the last
If you
6.
make it to that match, then you're in top 6, yeah?
Yeah.
So if you make it to the lower round 4, then you're not in yet. You have to
win.
you have to win that
once
match.
once you
Now I
beat
feel like I had
lower
Mark's milkshake.
Yeah.
Looking at
Oh
this.
no, you have to. So that's if you lose. Oh my god.
Okay, here's my gut
I'm
feeling.
upset.
I think that the games on 8-17, those best of 5s, I think that you have to win one of those to make it in.
Lower round 4 gets you in. If you make it to lower round 4. Okay, so
Winners finals guarantees it.
If you or upper round 3 apparently also does it.
Winners finals guarantees it, and wait,
Winners semifinals apparently.
upper round
says
3 does
Morgan.
not guarantee it. No.
No, yeah, upper round 3 does not guarantee it because you could lose in
I
lower round 3.
Well, they
You have
messed
to-
up.
No, because
yeah,
the
no,
numbers in
there's
the
no
lower
way.
round
There's
are
no way.
wrong.
The numbers in the lower
numbers
round are
in the
wrong,
lower
but there's
round
no way
are
that
very
Oh
wrong.
my
there's
god.
no way that upper round 3 gets you there.
Pain. All right.
There's no
One
way.
of you is right. What? Either Morgan in the chat
I'm
or,
looking at the math.
or Cubby.
And with the wrong numbers, there's no way.
Okay, you know what? I'm
It's
not gonna
drunk.
worry
If
about
you
that
win upper
anymore.
round of 3, you're guaranteed
Okay,
in.
Let's
That's for sure.
let's just
I know
do this
that.
based on team strength then. So, do we think that any of the academy teams will drop? We'll start with that.
CLG Academy is the most likely to drop, and even then, I don't think that they drop. There's like they could drop to the first 2 teams from semi-pro, but there's no way they drop to the other 4. Let me think.
Let's see if let's
'Cause
take a look at their bracket, right?
Their
So
their first big match is against Zeus Gaming, and I think Zeus can definitely win that matchup. So if CLG Academy were to lose against Zeus, they go to
the second round of losers.
second round of losers. Well, they would have to face loser of 7 and 8. So they would have to face the better of what I'm assuming is going to be Glaive Esports and Supernova. So Supernova statistically should win.
They
that.
should.
So
What?
CLG
Against CLG? Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
yeah, because
I got you, I
Supernova
got you, I
should
got
beat Glaive, but then CLG Academy should be able to beat Supernova. So from there,
Ooh, ADFX just gave us a Microsoft Paint of this. So, is that true? It is true. Okay, yes, I'm looking
So
at
the
it now,
league,
and
the
he's
Leaguepedia
right.
is right. The
numbers are wrong.
Leaguepedia is right. The Excel sheet's wrong. Got it.
Yes. Morgan is a godsend. Thank you, Morgan.
You wanna remake the bracket for you to find?
We'll bring it up to them. But yes,
you guys have a month off, right?
So if you win 2 in winners, then you're in, and if you win 3 ever, then you're in. Is what I'm seeing.
That sounds like a nice catchphrase. Actually, I like that, Smax. You should coin that.
Okay. Well, cool. There it is.
Cool.
Well, yeah. If you, then you're in proving grounds. So let's see then. Does CLG win 3 ever, Mark? So what we're saying that they win against Wildcard, they lose against Zeus, they win against Supernova. Do they win against their next match?
Which would be the better. Let's see, better of Digmig and I.
It's getting it might get a little dicey.
Okay. Here, let me determine something. Resolve versus TSM Amateur. Right now, informed from what we have seen,
That's a
TSM
good match,
Amateur,
by the way.
Yeah, it is a really good match. And based on what we saw at EGL, TSM Amateur are the better team. It doesn't mean that Resolve could not level up and go into that. So I don't know who realistically wins that going into it. So, but it's I think the loser of that team definitely beats Dignitas Mirage. So then they would have to play against number 9, which would be either AoE Randoms or Maryville University, because no matter what who wins, they're not beating TSM Academy.
There's also some important context for that match, and that's AoE randoms are going through a roster swap.
Yeah, Fizzy is going to be the support instead of Pocus now.
Also, Convictions or Concept's going to be the top laner instead of Chim.
Really?
Oh, really? Interesting.
Huh. That is very interesting. Um, I don't. I didn't even know that.
I got you.
Uh, I think Fizzy is good. So I can definitely say with my chest that I like that change. I don't know about the top one though. I think Chim's quite good.
I think
So
so. Bogus and Short Hop waned forever together,
yeah,
and I think Pocus is actually kind of slept on. I do think
I don't think
Fizzy's
Focus
good,
is bad, but I
but
think Fizzy's really good. Oh, well, interesting. Okay. Well, I guess we've then discerned that if CLG are going to win, then they have to beat either Maryville or AoE randoms to do it. And I'd say for like peak gameplay, that's probably Maryville. And if it's peak Maryville, I think they lose.
So here's the caveat. So the 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 better team of AoE randoms in Maryville has to then play the better of Resolve or TSM Amateur, and then the better of those Ultimate Four will have to play against CLG Academy. If CLG
Interesting.
Academy beats them, then they would have to play one more match before they, or no, then that gets them in the lower round four, and then CLG Academy qualify.
guys, my bracket that I'm still drawing up is actually very interesting because of how this lays out.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Oh man. All right. We're
okay,
we're
here we
crunching
go.
a lot of numbers here, which
I
is
know.
never something
Here
that
we
we
go.
should do.
So here's my predictions. That we
Okay.
have for the bracket.
Take
All
it
right.
away.
I'm gonna call the two best of threes for the winners finals. All right. So the or who makes it off of like each side of the bracket, right? TSM versus Zeus. I'm gonna take Zeus. Golden Guardians versus EGP. I'm gonna take Golden Guardians, right? So I think that Zeus and Golden
Ooh,
Guardians get out of their respective
you
sides
think
of the bracket.
EGP beats Dig?
Yes. Which means
Interesting. I think Dig is actually good, by the way.
I think that they are not
I
at
did you
all.
watch the series against 100?
I did, but 100
I
are
think that was
playing
I think that was
very
good.
poorly at the moment compared to where their form earlier, and I think that the way the EGP wins at the moment is playing through Surdy, and while Lortho has historically played weak side, he is statistically the worst top laner and does get like some resources. I think Lortho had a really down split. I think EGP can beat them. And they'll have Shoryu.
We'll
So
we'll
Shoryu has
see.
beaten Spawn wherever he goes.
So Shoryu will be returning for this tournament.
I would assume so. I have not heard differently.
I mean, I hope for EGP's sake as well. Not to say
Which
that
means,
Sasuke hasn't done a serviceable job.
which means, with that bracket, sorry to cut you off, Rafa, but this is actually kind of crazy. With that bracket and that prediction, that means that TSMA would have to play Maryville, and then the winner of that would go on to play Dig versus CLG.
Interesting. So in your
Wait.
world, not all of the academy teams make it
Oh
out,
wait,
is what you're
I
saying.
flipped it. I flipped it. My bad. In my world,
Oh.
there's a good chance that Dig or CLG, if they do lose early, like I think they might. There's a good
have
chance
to play
that
each other to advance in the losers bracket.
they might have
Ooh.
to. Yeah. So like we could have some academy
well,
on academy team violence in the losers bracket. See who gets out.
Interesting.
Well, that is one way where the academy team doesn't get out of UGP.
Yeah. So, okay, let's actually just go. Let's go into this right now. What are the two? We'll start with two. What are the two teams that you guys think make it out that are not academy teams? Just right off the bat, Cubby said Zoos.
Zeus EGP, I would imagine.
You think Zoos EGP?
Yeah.
I think those are the
Um,
favorites at the moment.
I I think I agree. I think Zuzi as well makes the
It's
most
got to be
sense
the
in my head.
favorites, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Considering how well EGP were able to play with two non, I mean, Bluster's going to be a starter, right? But he wasn't fully acclimated to the team yet, right?
Mhm.
And then Saskio is not the permanent uh 80 for the team. I think once during this week, uh both the weekend and this week of scrims, I think EGP are gonna get Bluster even more acclimated.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure. Bluster's gonna be good by this tournament, I think.
I'm really hyped to see then the Bluster and Will jungle matchup, because it doesn't come down to necessarily like who's a better jungler individually. It's a whose team is better at facilitating their jungler.
Mm.
And I think
Yeah.
that's why Cubby is giving the edge over to EGP over Dignitas, because
I think the
it took
EGP actually match up really well in the dig. Really
so
well.
I don't disagree, but I do think that that'll be competitive because I think Dig actually found a way to win games. And it was pretty convincing, I think, in this week. So I think that that is going to be a fun matchup.
Mhm.
Uh, okay. So if those are the two that we all are thinking are the favorites, what would the third team be at that point? In your
depending
opinions?
on which resolve shows up, TSM Amateur.
ESM, okay.
If a strong resolve doesn't show up and TSM Amateur get through the first round, I think they will have a decent chance of getting out.
So I actually think that I somewhat favor Resolve, and that's because if Resolve wins the first match, they'd get on the other side of the losers bracket,
Mhm.
which I think that bottom side with like what I have drawn up here is going to be much easier than the top side.
Yeah, I mean
Be-
the same
yeah.
argument is for TSM Amateur, because it's literally the same matchup. I mean,
Ooh.
whoever gets out first, because then you play against Golden Guardians Academy. So even if you get sent to the losers bracket afterwards, the losers bracket run there
Dude,
is less
the
difficult.
the more I go through this, the more I actually think there's like a legitimate chance that Dignitas do not make it out of this draw.
You think Dignitas are the worst academy team, or is
Well,
just
no,
based on the
but like,
tournament?
a part of it's the draw, right? So let's say this: Dig are gonna slam Glaive, whatever. I don't care about that. If they lose to EGP, and the loser of this match will have to go through like this bracket that I've kind of predicted and drawn up, right? So that loser of like that bottom like second round matchup, if like both Dig and EGP win, they would be slotted into the bottom side of the losers bracket, right? So if they lose match 12, they'd have to play the winner of most likely Wildcard Black versus Digmig. I think that that's a winnable game. But the next one, you'd have to play either Golden Guardians Resolve or TSM Amateur. And if I have Dig being slotted in there, I think Resolve and TSM could give Dig a run for their money. And then there's a chance that TSM would slot in if they
Academy or
do
amateur?
drop to Zeus afterwards. So, like the Academy team. So I think that like there's a good chance that Dig or EGP don't make it off of bracket, because I don't like EGP's matchup in the TSM. I don't think that's favorable for them with like how the teams just match. So like there's a world where like that bottom side of the bracket is actually really fucked with just
So
how
what
like everything
you're
came out.
so what you're saying is that this tournament's going to be very fun.
Yeah, like I actually think there's like a really high chance that either Dig or EGP like don't make it, and I'm predicting that Dig don't make it.
Okay.
That's my prediction with bracket draw. With what I see.
Mm.
So
I think Dig's
I've got
stronger than you
Zeus
do.
winning and Dig not making it. Holy shit.
I think that Dig is stronger than you think they are, and I also think that TSM is stronger than you think they are. Academy. But other than that, I think that your assessments are pretty sound here. I'm not gonna call you out on much other than what I've said so far. But you are heavily underrating Dignitas, I think. I think they're gonna show up.
I think that's a tough draw. Like you have EGP, Resolve, and TSM Amateur on the same side of that bracket with Dig. And I do think the Golden Guardians are the top dogs, but they're going to have to go through that side in the losers bracket. I don't like how Dig matches up into that. I think that COG matches better up into the top side of the losers bracket, where they're going to lose the Zoos, in my opinion. But I think that COG can actually make the climb out of there. It's an interesting argument, but that's I don't know. That's where I'm at.
Are we good with the bracket conversation? There's one other thing that I want to mention when it comes to the Proving Grounds stuff.
All right.
All right. So, as we all know, there are 16 teams going to Proving Grounds. The top 6 teams are the top 6 academy teams. And the next 4 are the tier 2 qualified teams from amateur. And the way that's laid out is that if you qualify from UGP, you are automatically seeded to play against a top 6 academy team. With that being said, do we think that any team that qualifies from this tournament will win their first match in Proving Grounds?
Yes.
Right. Who is it and why?
Well, it depends on how they qualify, but out of the top teams that we have right now in Academy, I actually think that they're kind of beatable. I don't know why. Like, Academy games, like, for, like, the early part of the season, I was like, all right, like, these are, like, being, like, played, like, pretty fast, like, not very clean. We're fighting a lot. Like, it's best of 2s. That's okay. It's, like, early in the season. Like, we'll kind of, like, start to clean things up as we go. Some of the teams have not cleaned things up and have actually kind of recessed. And that's concerning to me. And also, EGA have to incorporate a new member in Tomio, who I actually think that Tomio is like a top half jungler in Academy already. But it's still like like fitting into the team, and like that's a young core they have now with JoJo and Tomio, and that's going to be like interesting to see how that ends up. I think that Zeus might, if Zeus get a decent seed, I think that Zeus actually like have a chance here, or maybe GGA have a chance, but I don't know.
So
I was just still saying a lot of sloppy play in Academy. That's all.
That's definitely true.
Yeah.
I think the chief offenders of that have been Evil Geniuses, as you mentioned, and also 100. And also Cloud9, actually.
Yeah, I was waiting to see if you guys were gonna bring up Cloud9. They had
I'd say all three
they
of
had a
them
decent
have looked shaky.
closing on the last day, but yeah, like as during that last week, they only needed to win one game to clinch their spot. And when they dropped the first 0-2, it was like,
Yeah.
Cloud9, what's happening?
I'm pretty positive that the best team in NA outside of LCS right now is Team Liquid Academy, though. I'm pretty positive that they are the best. Because they've got Jenkins Armeo back, and Harry's looking very good. Ayla's looking very good. I think that's the team to beat right now. Last time I said that they went 0-4, but I think they're the best right
I think
now.
it's FlyQuest, but that's fine.
You think it's FlyQuest? So okay, so they're playing NXI triple. If this doesn't change, I guess they could swap back because the LCS team is done now.
Technically, they could. I mean, I'm curious to see what the FlyQuest Academy squad looks like for playoffs because
Yeah.
I don't know what are the restrictions on if they felt like Jose Dio to Palafox is the better mid jungle duo, right?
Yeah, it's not really like about that anymore though. I guess it could be if they wanted it to. Like if their goal now is to win Proving Grounds because they're out of LCS.
Actually, that's kind of
Then
weird. I wonder
yeah.
like what the rules around that will be.
Right,
Because
because
all of their players have played in academy, so realistically, it wouldn't be that
Minus
far of a
Philip.
stretch for them.
Yeah,
Well, Philip has been only playing in academy.
exactly. Yeah,
yeah,
everyone's played
I
LCS,
feel
but
like Philip would have to be the exception where he gets to stay and he has to play out
actually, what are the
academy.
rules around that? That'd be like really
Yeah, I don't
interesting.
know.
Yeah,
They
because
don't technically
then
have to do that.
what happens since Tomo and Diamond finished out the LCS season, but they started off academy? Does that mean like Johnson and Dreams have to finish out the academy into Proving Ground season, or like?
I don't know. I'm kind of curious, but we'll see.
Mm,
Um,
We'll have to figure out what that roster is
I
going to
think
be
that makes
like.
FlyQuest the scariest team in academy then, because they have a full
oh,
10-man roster that they're. It seems like there's no obligations until we know.
I mean, if
further
they
about
play Tomo and Diamond, like they get better. But I mean, I think regardless of like the roster, even if it's like like I think the roster they have now, like the 5 they just started this past week, are actually the team to beat.
Hmm.
NXI and Triple like actually just destroyed maps. Like
Oh yeah,
I
those games were not close
it
at
like
all.
the like in this meta, I haven't seen a duo destroy maps that hard since like Ryoma Kenby, who are doing it on a duo where it's like easier to just destroy maps through mid jungle. Like holy smokes! And I know that Phillips like I have faith that Philip just gets like kind of improves rapidly and is not
Right.
as big of a hole as he is at the moment.
You already
He will
did.
be a hole, but he's getting better.
If you're solo killing Viper within your second week of LCS Academy, that's pretty fucking good already. So
Yeah.
he'll definitely be ready by then. So
A lot of faith in the FlyQuest Academy staff too. I think they're one of the best for sure. Ah, that's really interesting. I didn't even think about that. And I mean, I guess we could transition this conversation into the top 6 academy, as we're already kind of talking about them. Um,
I mean, we can
so
kind of talk about like I guess like the in between, or do we want to hit the list first? We can just like do we want to talk about the list being updated at all?
I guess we're kind of just meshing everything together.
Yeah, it is meshed together somewhat at this point.
It is. Let's do the list conversation right now, and then we'll do academy.
We can do Academy playoff predictions or something.
Yeah. For those of you who are watching in the Twitch chat, you can follow along by using !Mobilytics in the Twitch chat. That'll pull up the list that has been updated as of today. So in case you don't know, if you're not a frequent listener of the show, the 3 of us on this show, that's Smacks, Rafa, and Cubby, and then also Magic, aka Tim Sevenhuysen. All 4 of us contribute to the Mobilytics prospects list, and that just got updated. So we have a bunch of players from the amateur semi-pro space, and surprise, surprise, Bradley is number 1 again.
Yeah.
Bradley, good.
Do we talk more? I don't even know.
I don't know what else to
Next.
say.
next,
Yeah. Let's go next. So Wixie's number 2. I think across most of our
didn't
lists
change from last time.
Yeah. Most of our lists though that was pretty much the same. Next though we do have Darkwings. I think Darkwings went up, yeah.
You guys are coming over to my side on that one.
I am. I kind of have to.
It's really good.
I took the peer
got
pressure
out of the quarterfinals curse this tournament.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah.
It was a lot because of him too. And so me personally, the reason I put him higher this time, I still don't have him like really high, but I did put him higher, was because I thought Aspect was performing very, very well, and Darkwings was still having very competitive game. Like the 2 of them,
Guy's really good.
those games against each other, all 5 of them, the mid lane was so good, so entertaining to watch. Just like very high level play out of the 2 of those players. I have them both rated very high on my list, and yeah, so I couldn't ignore Darkwings this week. He's up there for sure.
Yeah, he's like when you put together the play that he does on like the brawlers that he's playing now, and then think about how good his mage play was throughout all of last season on Zeus, like guy's really good. I'm very impressed.
When they're at match point down 0-2, they're like, "All right, Darkwings, you're playing Lee Sin. You better kick some ass." And he did. Oh, it was so sick. Uh, yeah, I'm loving the looks from Dark Wings. Um, so our previous number four got promoted. We can't talk about Tomio on this list anymore because he's an Academy player now. So he's gone. We also can't put Busio on the list anymore. I think Cubby was the only person who was trying to do that. But that's also a thing. But our next player is still Fnatic. You guys have any thoughts there? Great.
Obviously, things for Resolve aren't great at the moment, but
So,
this pick is grandfathered in a little bit from the play of last
Yeah.
split and where we
so
still think Fnatic is in the jungle pool.
I mean, so I think the interesting thing is that when it comes to the individual lists, Fnatic, beforehand at the beginning of the split, Fnatic was in our top five. For me and Smacks, he dropped down to I think it was seventh, eighth. We still have a lot of respect for Fnatic as a player because he has been over the course of the entire Proving Grounds year has been a very one of the strongest junglers, but the recent play from Resolve is very catastrophic at the moment, and if they don't, I basically told myself that if they didn't make it out of UGP, then there's no reason to keep Fan within the top 10, maybe not even the top 15 anymore, because I think it's a disservice to the other players that are outperforming him in the circuit. But Fan was one of the strongest junglers in spring, and so that
He still is.
yeah. So that being said, there are a lot of other junglers that have been cropping up in Proving Grounds, whether it's summer or kind of in spring, and then more so in summer, that we shall see come to fruition and see how it plays out over UGP. So
Yeah.
this is like literally because we literally dropped a couple or few Resolve players from our list because for Barrage that roster was one of the best, and it like we firmly believe that it just got plagued by really unlucky issues out of control. This time they don't really have that luxury. They actually just got
Maybe that was what was giving them all the power.
beat.
Was the
beat
power outage?
Yeah. Yeah, Resolve have been beaten fair and square this time, and so we've dropped multiple members of Resolve from our list.
Yeah.
Fan and Array for the most part are the ones that remain.
So
I still have AP
so
pretty high up.
Cubby so Cubby, you've got Fnatic the highest of the three of us, I think.
Mhm.
What why is that? Because you've got him as your number one jungler, I believe.
I
Yeah,
still
you've got him a third overall.
my two junglers that I had ranked the highest on the list were Tomio then Fnatic, and Tomio's off. So Fan, I sincerely think that Fan's actually still the best jungler playing at this level. I know that other junglers are having good splits. I know that results for Resolve haven't been there, but based on his play last split and still the moments I see in game, I think that a lot of Resolve's issues are just not being on the same page, and it's not like just individual feeding happens because of that. So if they start playing as a team, then I think that we'll start to see how good Fan was in the spring once again. So yeah.
Makes sense to me. All right, let's actually take a little bit of a jump to what Mark and I have as our number one jungler. That's Winston. So we both have him as number one. He's on. I think he went up for this list as well. Oh no, he stayed exactly the same. So he's
He
still
stayed
seven.
exactly the same, even though for me and Smacks, he's our number 3, I believe.
If he's your number three. He's my number five. He's actually my third highest wildcard player. Funny enough. But yeah, so you and I have him as our number one jungler. Um, I'll start. I think that Winston is having like a really, really big standout split for himself. I have been very impressed with
Hmm.
the way that he and Bradley are like taking over entire maps. Um, Bradley, of course, like we've got him as the highest. All of us we're unanimous in that. But I think that Bradley wouldn't be as high if it weren't for Winston. Truthfully, I think Winston is doing that very well, and I think he's playing around like all three very powerful lanes very well, which is truthfully the perfect environment to be in for a jungler when all three of your lanes are the best in every tournament that you're playing in. But I
Yes.
think that he's making it work very well. I assume that that's why you've got him a little bit lower, Cubby, because he's working with a lot more than everyone else. But I
I
don't.
have Winston and Daption ranked a lot lower because they're always
Uh-huh.
in winning lane states. I give a
That
lot of
makes
credit
sense.
to Bradley, Brandini, and Arrow for that. So that's why they're not as high up. I
Yeah.
think that other players that like other teams have more to work with. Like I think that's the argument that a lot of players are using for Cersei and a Blazolve in the LCS, including myself. Like at the moment, the fact that like their teams aren't quite as good, and so yeah,
I personally believe that Winston and Daption are very big contributors to the reason why they have all these winning lanes all the time. So I think that's where our major difference would be.
hmm
Uh, what do you think, Mark?
I can't determine what goes on behind the scenes because I've never had the time or opportunity to ask Wildcard if I could sit on scrims and listen to comms, which is actually something I'm gonna have the chance to do with Zeus this week. Um, it's something that I've been wanting to do just because I want to listen to how a team communicates information in game. But the reason why, like, above play, above results, above whatever's going on behind the scenes, for me, Winston goes high up on the list because I think he had to do an insane amount of growth and show a lot of humility, going from solo fide to wildcard red. And in the brief conversations I've had with him, if you also go back to the winners interview he had for, I think it was Challengers Uprising, when he literally dropped the Declaration of Independence in his the entire he was just dropping like mad bars on the interview. But I think Winston has had a lot of time of reflection to do where he looked at that spring split, he looked at Solifity, he looked at the strengths, and he saw, why wasn't my name in this contention? People talking about Tuesday, people talking about Zazel. And Winston said to himself, I can imagine my name is going to be up there. And now he's done it with Wildcard Red. And it's a, it's, we go back to the conversation where it's easy as a jungler to look good when all of your lanes are the best lanes in the tournament. But I think the advantages that Winston takes are not for granted, and he accelerates that even further. Or, if we get the chance to see what comms are like, maybe those lane states advantages are created because of the information that Winston is getting. Because you can't always, like, you could have a winning lane matchup, but
hmm
if you don't know where the enemy jungler is, or you don't have perfect information, then you always have to play with respect of where the enemy jungler could be. If Winston is constantly tracking that for Bradley, for Brandini, for Arrow and Daption, then they can play as dominatingly as they want to.
yeah. I mean, like they're Reds winning everything, right? But like I'd say that like we've all kind of handled the theory of our list differently. And I think that my list week to week is actually like it's definitely had the least amount of change. And I still have a couple players from spring still kind of further grandfathered in compared to you guys. Like just kind of looking.
Yeah.
So that's my reason for having Fan ranked higher than Winston. I still have Winston as my second jungler. He's playing
Mhm.
fantastic. It's really hard to like, and like all like the behind the scenes stuff, like hearing like everyone talk about other players and comms, like that's great. I don't have access to that. I'm just trying to go off of like what I see in the game. Obviously, Winston's on the best team. He's playing fantastic right now with the rest of his team who are just dominating everyone. But I guess I still remember like Fan being the one member of Barrage that like really helped them get across the finish line against like series with Solifide, Norg, and like TL and Proving Grounds from last split. So I still have Fan somewhat grandfathered in.
And I think that's fair because over the course of this entire year, you know, when you look at Proving Grounds and then into the summer split, there were not a lot of changes overall. There were the very obvious ones for the top 3 amateur players that everyone agreed on. Those were Viper, Anda, and Danny. Obviously, they were promoted right away, but there wasn't a lot of room for movement since the splits were so close together. So I think it's definitely fair to take into account the spring split as well. I think that's really that's perfectly fine to do, because I think that should be considered when looking at roster turnover in the next coming off season. With that, let's move on to another player that is on wildcard. I guess we already talked about Daption. He's actually number 6 on this list, so that's pretty sweet.
Yeah,
do
and
we
that
have
was the
anything
biggest
new to say about-
discrepancy that we had in supports. I
Yeah,
still have Breezy
true.
and Rhino a little bit higher. I think that Daption once again is playing great with Arrow, but I like everyone's like when you're on the best team, everyone's gonna look great. And I think that Rhino and Breezy specifically have had like Breezy and Wixie are like the one bot lane that's like proven that they can really step up against wild cards so far. And so I give them a lot of credit. I think that Breezy like really has to like handle the he plays secondary engage like really well, because usually like Axiom and Speedo have been like setting up on like Orns or Lee Sins, and like I've been impressed with like how he's been playing like Rakan and other champions around that. I think he's like hovering lanes really well. And Rhino like has just been forced to take on bigger engages than like what like because it's just different game states. And I've seen Rhino make a lot of game winning plays.
Right.
And
I think Daption does that very well too, for what it's worth.
Yeah,
The
like he does,
secondary
and he's really good at snowballing vision and like snowballing the game. But I think like a lot of support play I actually credit to like when you're playing behind as well. Like, can you creatively come back? And those are 2 supports that have like really proved that to me, and I value that skill a lot. And I haven't seen that from Daption this split, because obviously Wildcard have already been in the lead. But also last split, I saw like a lot of the hero plays coming out from like other members with Daption following up, and I think him and Team Luke were like a great lane, and that was the reason that Wildcard was really competitive, and I give Daption credit for that. But at the moment, I think Breezy's like I've been really impressed with his growth, and I had Rhino ranked higher last split as well. So once again, getting grandfathered. So yeah,
I will say that I can respect the pocket Rhino takeover Daption, because unlike Daption, Rhino has to play with a far weaker marksman in comparison in Raheen.
for lane, yeah.
I think that's
Or
I think
just,
that's true of every team though.
Yeah, for lane.
I don't want to shit on Raheen.
No. I don't know.
It's
Okay,
very
so,
easy to be worse than Arrow.
All right. But hear me out though. Like, sure, you can say that about a majority, but I think the gap between Wixie and Arrow is closer, even if Arrow's just like this, like monstrosity.
Yeah.
I think Wixie's a far better marksman than Raheen.
Yeah, I think one of like the interesting things this split has been last split. Like I think that Barrage and Solifide or in like Zoos were like the only teams that could like take Viper Anda at times, and that's why like they were the top dogs. Whereas like I actually think that like one of the reasons that C9 is seeing success is that like they're one of the few bot lanes that like have actually proven that they can hold up to Aerodaption at times.
Hey, Smacks, it's like we said this about the C9 amateur bot lane back in spring. It's like, hey, one of the saving graces about this team
they were.
is...
Yeah. So, but like it wasn't like the meta, like every team just getting destroyed top by like Viper Anda, right? So like that like wasn't needed as much.
Viper versus Speedo is a massacre, unfortunately.
It's a very different requirement to be a good team based on what the best team is. I think you bring up a really good point, Cody.
It's actually like kind of interesting because like tournament meta, like you have to beat
like
wild
the
card.
benchmarks and everything.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
It's like how do you beat wild cards?
Really
like
cool.
I have to like not get murdered bot or like try my best. Whereas like it was the opposite last split. Where it's like we have to find a way to beat no org, and it's like all right, don't get more like murdered top.
Disconnect all 5 wildcard players from their computer.
Yeah, and like PCL fan could like they actually played not getting murdered top really well, so
yeah,
that's like why they ended up like being okay.
Yeah,
and that was kind
really
of
interesting.
So it's like kind of different metas like from each split, and it's like obviously like patches changed, but I actually think like a lot of it's been like players changed, and that's been cool. Because like this is a patch where theoretically like, it has been all attack top, but it's been all about like who can still stand up to arrow like after the first 15 minutes, you know?
Yeah. I mean, Aphelios is a crazy strong lane bully with the new build too. So you still have to be good at laning.
Arrow was on that early.
About Draven though? Can we talk about Draven though?
Oh, dude,
yeah, I wanna see more Arrow Draven.
Please.
Yeah.
Oh my god! All right, yeah, that's actually like LCK fanboy me coming out. Yeah. Holy shit.
One other thing on Daption, I do hold the philosophy that if you are on the best team, then you are very likely the best support in the league, whichever tournament or league you're playing.
TL's in fifth.
I think that is what?
TL is in 5th right now. What are you talking about? I'm kidding.
I mean,
I had to throw in the meme moment. Keep going.
They have had crazy roster moves and everything. I think Core JJ has earned an asterisk, but I think that is generally the case. Is if you're on the best team, then you are the best support. And
who from LCS said that? There was like it was.
Well, if they want to pick me up to start casting the game, then you can say that I said that. Just kidding.
I'm pretty sure I heard that on an LCS broadcast at one point, but I don't remember if it was like for a content piece, like for next level, or if it was like a death segment, or if it was on a cast.
Well, either way, it's good to hear that people share their opinion, but I do think that is true, and I think that Daption has proven that he is on the best team, and he's contributing very well to being on the best team in a lot of situations. And just because he's playing with Arrow, I don't think should mitigate that as much. So I'm very high on Daption. Let's keep moving though. So the other people on this list, we've got Tuesday, XU, and Gorica. They've been on the list for the past few weeks, I would say. XU remains, and the new addition is Spearaxe. Spearaxe is rounding it out at 10. And the main proponent of that is none other than Cubby. So
do I have
give us
the
the Spearaxe
9th?
details. I believe so.
Okay.
I believe you had him the highest.
Because he was I think Rafa or Magic have him higher.
I'm pretty sure you
have him 9, everyone else has him 11.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, actually Cubby has him at 8.
I guess we're consistent. I think that guy's really like a freak. And
you get to for those that got to go to the Gateway LAN, you got to see full Spearaxe strength.
I mean, that was less of competition, but also like he still played the finals against Frost Force Doxa.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not talking about like, collegiate teams there were blah blah blah. I'm just talking about the way he played. The way he played, it doesn't matter if he was playing against his movement and his ability to just. Oh my god, I can't even.
For me, like what I value at that role is like who has just the highest ungodly mechanics possible. And for me, Spearaxe is behind Darklings and Bradley, but he's there.
Yeah, the Akali Rise gameplay.
It's not the only thing, but like that's important to me with that role.
Even if they're not against the toughest competition compared to what we see in Proving Grounds, you get to see the raw mechanical level.
Holy shit! Yeah.
Jalal is playing at, and that's that. It makes me really wish that we could, it's not going to happen this year, but if we continue having Proving Grounds in the future, I hope that we get to see a day where like similar to CLOL in the past, the top 4 Proving Grounds teams play live, so you get to see what everyone can play on like local ping, because that is like the benefit of that we got to see Spearax on like what 10 ping, 5 ping. Well, I don't even know what the LAN ping was like, but Jesus Christ,
his rise, his Akali are really impressive, like more so than other players, and I personally think that like Doxa hasn't been having his best split, and that I'm really high on Spearax at the moment. Holy shit, that kid's good. So yeah, I'm high on him. I know while we're on the topic of mid laners, you guys wanted to shout out Aspect, who was a lot higher up on your list this week. He was a big mover.
Aspect was my number 6. I already talked about him a lot, but I tried to get him on the list, fellas. Didn't quite happen. But yeah, I think Aspect's
Were you talking about Smacks?
Aspect.
Oh, Aspect. Okay.
I actually did want to do a fun thing where, because we do 1 through 15 on our lists and we submit them and then we run out the average.
Yeah, you want to do a couple honorable mentions?
Yeah, let's do honorable mentions. So everyone has at least one player that only they have on their list. Cubby, you've got 2 of them. And then I've got 1, Mark has 1, and
Surdy and Faisal, I assume.
You have Surdy and Quacker. You didn't put
Quacker. Quacker, yes, right, yeah. I had Quacker over Faisal, yeah.
Well, we'll get to yours in a second. Okay. Tim had Skytech on his, and I think that's very fair. Skytech, the sport for EGP. So obviously Tim's not here, so I'm not going to speak for him. But nice nod to Skytech.
Kids got hands.
Cubby, tell us about your top laners, because I don't think anyone else put any top laners on their list.
Yeah,
at all.
I'm still very high on Quacker. I think that Quacker plays out his laning states really, really, really well, which not a lot of amateur top laners without pro experience are doing at the moment. And then Surdy still hits the highest highs, and I know that he has booms, but I think that like when Surdy has good games and like he's always pushing himself to his limits, and there's a reason behind that. It's because he's fucking good. And that I do take his solo queue ranking and side effect for my ranking of Surdy as well, because it's so absurdly high compared to a lot of other people that play at this rank and across multiple servers throughout history. So yeah, I think that like if Surdy. I think that Surdy's like can be just nuts, and for me, like, I think that he's got the most uppity up, and if I was going to invest in a top laner, it'd probably be him. But Quacker's next. I think Quacker's like being really slept on. I know Wildcard Black wasn't in the last tournament, but he's actually been on every single list I've submitted. So yeah,
that is true.
Vouch.
Yeah, it's really good.
All right, do you wanna do your player, Mark?
Is mine Frost Forest?
That's one of them. You also have Instinct.
Oh, I mean, it's easy to talk about Instinct because since very similar to Cloud9 Amateur, since Spring, Instinct, and Busio were the saving graces of that 100 Thieves next team, and Young has improved a lot going from Spring into Summer, but we knew that Young could play at least that well based on the I think it was really a champion pool issue, because when you look at on the champions that he's turning up on now, which are like the Aurelia, that was also what was back in meta in fall 2020 last year when he was on XT Esports. So, and during spring that was not the case. So I still think Young played a lot better. But Instinct and Busio, and even without Busio and having Gwyson, who Gwyce did a fantastic job, by the way. Instinct is just, for how young he is a fucking freak as a marksman player. And the great and I get to know this because of our relationship with Mirage Esports in the past, how he was calming even at the age of 14 and 15, and he had really good comms. So the fact that he was communicating that well as the youngest player on the Mirage team, which finished top 4 back in 2020, it continues on. He and Busio in spring for 100X were some of the saving graces. I remember distinctly there was one series where 100X had to play against, I think it was Old Zoos, and they, like, Goo, Cozy, Young got wiped. They're on a bottom side jungle, and then Instinct Busio, like, 2v5 to fight, and they took down 3 before they got wiped. And the fact that they could do that is like insane. And there's a reason why Busia is getting promoted to academy now. I won't be surprised if they might keep Instinct for one more year, but I mean, Instinct is
Everyone else is going to
insane.
scouting grounds, so
Yeah.
or has the chance to at least.
True.
Yeah. And for
all
Frost
contracts
Forest, I
expire.
mean, I know that people are gonna say the bias is there. I mean, it is.
I'll give
to an
you
extent.
this. He has gotten a lot better. He's not top 15, but he has gotten a lot better.
But TSM Amateur got insanely better in the EGL run based off of a majority of his play. And there's a couple times where I thought that when you look at this roster, you would think, okay, it's Frost Force and Doxa carrying, and then Gorka should make up for it. Doxa ran it down a couple times. He salt picked Zed in their series, and and it made me slightly upset. And you know what game I'm talking about, where
you're not wrong, but
he ego picked Zed in this series. He also ego picked Zed during the Gateway Legend Finals, and he just I don't know. I mean, he wasn't completely running it, but there's just times where it's like, dude, what do you expect is going to happen right here? And you can tell that Dox is just upset, and Frost Force is literally trying his best. See, I think it's also admirable that within a short amount of time, Chan, who I've never ever seen play Lee Sin in his entire solo queue career, picked up Lee Sin and now has a really decent Lee Sin. I don't think it's as good as Xuse. I think Xuse has one of the best Lee Sins out of the.
Is fucking crap.
Dude,
Holy
Lawrence's Lee Sin is
Holy shit.
fucking freak
He's
of nature.
so good
actually,
at that chip.
He's really good at Lee Sin.
The fact that the game that they won off of Wildcard Red was really off the back of Xuse Lee Sin, and I'm just like, God damn. But yeah. But I think Frost Force place on my list is also interchangeable with the with RBM. I know that the bias exists for me, and I just want to give him.
While we're at the topic of junglers too, Smax's unique pick is Chad.
Yes. So I was gonna go last. My pick on my list is Chad Jungle for 100 next. And I implore you to all go back to last week's episode where I said that 100 next would get into proving rounds and it would be a Chad gap. And I'm delighted to inform you all
Despite
that
roster
I
changes.
was correct as always. Chad Jungle dropped a bomb on Evil Geniuses, on Graves in game 2. And the rest of the games were very good as well. Now, Instinct may have gotten that quadra kill in game 4, and it may have been very cool. But I, for the sake of being right, will still say that those games were a Chad gap. So, Chad made it on my list. So, hell yeah, Chad.
All right.
I will say
love
the
those
Gore
games.
Drinker Kha'Zix build that he used in Wildcard Red threw me for a loop, because I was like, for me, I always just imagine Kha'Zix as building full lethality and then you're just, destroying people. So whenever I see builds in past metas where it's Black Cleaver Conquer Kha'Zix or this time Gore Drinker Kha'Zix, it always makes me slightly angry, because it's this shouldn't be how Kha'Zix plays. He shouldn't just dive 1 into 5 people and then just sustain himself. He should be waiting for picks and then just one-shotting squishies. But I understand that not every game will be like that, and then if you're playing into Kha'Zix, people are not going to just wander around the map like a fucking idiot and let you do that for free. So it's a cool adaptation. I just hate that that seems to be the best Kha'Zix build. I wish that Prowler's Claw or Duskblade was a more effective build competitively. Just from
Well, I keep nerfing those items because Varus makes them so broken. So
well, fuck you, Varus. You ruined
Varus
everything for us.
He ruins it for everyone. Truly, he really does. But not for Chad. Chad looking good. Well done. Okay, that's our list. Again, if you want to check that out on your own, it's on the Mobalytics website, Twitch chat !Mobalytics, or you can just find it on your own. Shout out to them for letting us spout our opinions on their website. It's always very fun. and thank you to Tim for doing that.
Yeah, it's
Also,
kind
I
of
was on Tim's podcast, which was very fun. This week.
It's kind of interesting how like our lists have evolved and like watching everyone's like kind of change, because I think that me and Tim have definitely like had a lot less change, and you guys have, and it ends up being a nice mix of like it ends up mixing up like pretty decently actually. I kind of like it.
Yeah, I really like it too. I don't know how many more we're gonna do. I guess we get into the postseason and everything.
Probably one after UGP and then one after PG, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll have to find out. I'm hoping that we get to do this for a while, and depending on what the format is, maybe we'll do it next year too. But
that's fine.
Anyway, let's briefly talk about Top 6 Academy, and then we can get into LCSs. We've been going for a little while on this show, as it turns out.
Yeah.
So Top 6 Academy, Cubby.
FlyQuest wins the whole thing. Just
saying. Ooh. Okay, well, we already talked about FlyQuest and the conundrum that is their roster.
I think the first round matchups are actually really, really interesting. 100 versus Immortals and C9 versus EG. I think those are going to be like really close series. I'm really excited to see the best of fives.
I think both of them are going to be really close. I think Team Liquid's going to win the whole thing. I think they're the best team in Academy and Proving Ground space.
Yeah,
for sure. But yeah, I am pretty. I'm pretty excited for those quarterfinal matchups. So those start on the 5th.
This Thursday. This Thursday.
Yeah. So we are 3 days out, depending on when you're watching this, I guess. Of that, and like that's very, very soon. So yeah. So let's dive into the quarterfinals, and then from there, I guess. So 100 Thieves versus Immortals. I think both teams have a complete opposite trajectory right now, where Immortals are surging upward, and 100 Thieves seem to be spiraling a bit.
Are Immortals surging upward though?
I think so. I compared to the start of the split, absolutely they are.
They're
the last 2 weeks were not.
They're 1-3-2-2 the last 2 weeks.
I think their 2-0 this week was pretty good.
Oh no, it was, but
yeah, it was against Cloud9 as well, and they did, in fairness, fix up the main problem in that series, which was that their late game was piss poor. They actually did have good late games in the Cloud9 series. Not the next one though. But like I said, I do think Team Liquid is the best. So I'm gonna give them a pass for losing to Team Liquid. I think Immortals are actually quite good. I think that they might even take it against 100.
The thing about Immortals Academy is that I'm inclined to give them the highest ceiling, or one of the highest ceilings of the top 6 teams that we have for Academy. The problem is that I'm constantly, I see things, especially like in the Team Liquid Immortals game, where it's like, okay, we got Viper on Callista, and when we were casting that game, Smax, we were like, oh man, this is the game where we saw this in Proving Grounds, and Viper just run the whole ship, and then they just completely into the advantage on the bottom half of the jungle in that fight.
Yeah.
Point. Mm-hmm. And then Viper's
and then there was there was also the game where Jenkins had like a really sick roam on Camille and just like completely trashed the lane in mid lane. So like Pretty just like did not get to play the game for the rest of that one. That was really sick. I think that was a really interesting strategy, because Jenkins, king of weak side top, was really putting in a lot of work there. So that series was really cool.
The overall concern is that if Immortals get a strategy like that, where it's not even like they botched the first 5 minutes. In fact, the first 5 minutes were perfect from Immortals Academy. Anda had denied the buff, ran over to the other buff, ran him out of that, and then Jenkins is about to no, this wasn't against Team Liquid. This was against
No, it was. Because
What?
Armeo he tweeted about being level
Oh
one
yeah,
at 3
that's right.
minutes.
Oh yeah, level 1 at 3.5 minutes is my comfort zone. Yeah, okay, that was a pretty fucking funny tweet. But yeah, so like Jenkins is in the fucking shitter because he's about to get dove with a huge stacked wave, and
Yeah.
they play the dive well. I
Then
don't even
bot does
remember.
not go well.
Yeah.
I think there's a big issue where when Keith is not playing Ziggs, bot lane is very unfavorable for for these guys. And
So
even
so
when
when
he
Really?
was
Keith
on
does not
Ziggs,
have a free
yes.
laning pass.
Oh, I think
even
the
when
last they're just the last 2 weeks because I think that Keith's been having actually a pretty good split.
This week was very bad for Keith and Joey. They got 2v2'd against Cloud9 and against Team Liquid. One on Ziggs and one not, because Ziggs got banned against Team Liquid. But he was only serviceable late game because of the Ziggs, I think.
Hmm.
I think that he did not have a good week at all, despite their wins. But I do think that Anda is just so good. I think with contracts not in the league anymore, he's probably the best jungler in the league. And yeah, I think that because of that, the series against 100 will be pretty close. But Luger,
Yeah.
I think 100 wins because because of that. Because they have Luger.
I think those two teams are actually better than C9 and EG at the moment, even though it's 3-6 seed. I think it's a really good best of 3. I have faith in 100 that I think they're the better
is it
team
best of
overall.
3? I thought it was
or
5.
best 5. My bad. That's gonna be really fun. Best 5.
Okay.
I think our top 3 for grand finals and losers finals is, or do we even have like a double? Is it a double limit bracket or is it just single limb?
It's not double limb, but I'm pretty sure there's a third place match.
Okay, so I think top 3 is FlyQuest, TL100 Thieves, and it can be interchangeable in that order. It can be interchangeable. So
yeah, the rest of I think there's a pretty clear top half, bottom half for sure.
I think the other match is interesting though because it's Telmio.
Yeah, true.
I think Telmio and JoJo run Churn and Coffee. That's my bold
really.
Take.
I do think that Copy's laning has not been very good. I think it's been one of the worst of all the mids in Academy. I do still think Sternfire is very strong though.
Dude, I think that Telmio actually EGP they took top 5-6 improving grounds. He was fine against all the Academy junglers. Telmio is I really do think he's a top half jungler. And I think that JoJo is going to stop inting for playoffs. And I think the EG are I think they're just going to run the map.
We'll see. We'll see about that last part.
Just going to run the map.
It's been pretty consistent for JoJo. He's been having a lot of fun. But
EG's 0-2, he had one of the best LeBlanc games I've ever watched. It was a legit 1v9 until he got TP'd on. It was a bad way to take, but yeah.
His LeBlanc was very good. It was a very good week for LeBlanc. But he's been having fun for sure.
We had one week where LeBlanc was the best mid laner on the patch, where it was
still is. She's getting banned now. Yeah.
Well, okay. So I'm not saying she is or she's not. I'm just based on what teams are prioritizing, because now people are picking Syndra instead of LeBlanc, and they're prioritizing that match instead.
And as Cubby pointed out, they should be picking Ryze first.
Ryze has been a answer into, or people's choice answer into LeBlanc. Others have also done Aurelia when she is available, but Aurelia is
a dangerous matchup.
Aurelia.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I have faith in JoJo Telmio. I do. I think Telmio's got really good hands. I think he's a good player. I think that he's going to be just fine in the academy. He's ready.
Cool. So, do you guys both think FlyQuest is going to win then?
I think it's going to be really close against TL, but I'm kind of having faith that NXI triple, I take that advantage over TL's duo. I think that FlyQuest and triple or triple NXI are like a little bit more explosive. And I think that the meta is actually going to favor that at the moment. I think that like triple champion pool is really good in this meta. Like he's having a great split. I know that Harry's also playing really well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that that's going to be like a really tough thing for the other duos to deal with because they look freed out of LCS. Like they absolutely just ran Academy this week. Like holy shit. So yeah,
that was pretty sick.
I almost feel like NXI had like, I'm trying to think of the perfect analogy.
Dude, NXI and Luger, the bidding wars have already started. Those two players in LCS time, like it's just bid them up.
Yeah.
That's the marketing campaign.
You guys...
He had a similar opening to Jose when he got down to Academy. It was very similar.
So check this out. NXI is like the fucking Omni Droid from The Incredibles, where when NXI loses against a better jungler, he absorbs all that information of like, okay, how did they fucking beat me? Where did I go wrong? And then he takes it into the training lab, and then he uses that same exact strategy and ploy and uses it against some poor jungler that he's fighting against in Academy. And he's
still rocking with the Mike Young DNA from version 1.0. Oh, it's hilarious.
Yeah, NXI is a machine, dude.
He's very good.
Yeah, so I think that's gonna be like the best 5 that I want to see at the moment is actually TL versus FlyQuest.
Yeah, funny enough, that was the finals of Northern Arena in spring.
It was.
So,
and funny enough, I do think that actually the best matchup to take down FlyQuest is actually Immortals.
Because of their early game.
No, because I think Viper into Philip is abusable.
But
when I say the early game, I do mean
Viper like 2 weeks ago.
I know.
So what happened?
What gives, Cubby? What say you?
Results-based analysis.
Okay.
The result was a solo kill. All right.
One game.
True.
Yeah, I mean it's Viper versus a greener face in Academy. Like, what else is it?
See, I think if
they could pick Immortals if Immortals win against 100.
I think it depends on the draft because to be fair, Philip was on one of his comfort picks between Renekton and Wukong. He is able to like get through the laning phase well, and FlyQuest like does well for him to get through.
Also, the matchup's different on this patch because they lessened Wukong's health regen and actually hurt him a lot in that matchup.
Sure. So yeah. what I'm saying overall is that if let's take that scenario that Team Liquid had where Viper Callista got picked and then Anda like ran the whole top map, Armeo gets put out of the jungle. I think if you actually do that against Philip and NXI might be able to find a way to recover, but I feel like Philip is far more exposed in that scenario, and it's harder for him to like individually communicate what he needs to be able to come back into the game. It just might be like, guys, I don't know what to do. And so FlyQuest then has to figure out what to do for Philip in that scenario, whereas I'm pretty sure Jenkins knows what to do in that situation, which is why he was still relevant despite being put into the ground by Viper's Callista.
Mm-hmm.
So that I can agree with.
Cool. Well, it sounds like we're split on who's going to win the whole thing either way, because I do still have a lot of faith in Team Liquid. I think they're going to win. But yeah,
I think they're the 2 teams to beat for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're right now. They should probably be. They should probably.
That's the best of 5
finalists.
I want to see.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sold on that take. Like I think I kind of think the FlyQuest have the edge, but God, TL is playing really well.
So what would you guys think if Immortals was subbed out for Wildcard Red in this bracket? Would they beat 100? Would they place higher? Well,
at the moment with 100's form, yeah. But then they'd have to go up against TL, and I don't know if they win TL.
TL would get to pick. Well, no, FlyQuest would get to pick. Sorry.
Is it though, or is it firm bracket like the LCS? There's a big discussion on Twitter the other day.
Oh yeah, I don't know. On Leaguepedia it says that it's a seed 1 gets to pick, but I don't actually know.
I trust Leaguepedia on that one. Yeah.
So you think they get top 4? Do they go any higher than that?
No.
All right.
I would be curious to see how Bradley performs against better mids in Academy.
Yeah, I think Bradley versus Triple would be really, or Harry's like really hype.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly, like all the mids are pretty decent. I think Copy's having a down split, but
Yeah.
I think like all 6 mids would be like really good, fun matchups for Bradley. I think he would fare fine in those two.
So are you guys, for when it comes to Cloud9,
Not
do
only
you
for him,
feel
but just
like
for the team.
Copy is the one that is underperforming the most? Because when I looked at I know I didn't really see the 0-2 that they had, but for the 2-0 that they had against TSM, it was against Takeover game 1, or I think it was Takeover both games. No, and
It was Takeover both games.
yeah, and Takeover is supposed to be like this monstrosity of a laner, and Copy handled him well. He mitigated him. Now,
I think he did in game 2 a lot. I think game 1 was more jungle. I think Fire did a very good job in game 1 on Fiddle.
Fiddle is a very nice pick for Mr. Surenfire.
Yeah.
I guess it's also because I'm seeing Copy when he gets set is by far. I think Copy has one of the nicest set mids in
He's very good
across the entire NA landscape, just because of how much time he's had to put on that champion, not just between Cloud9, but also for 100 Thieves Next back last year. But even on when he played Azir, I think it was 3 weeks ago, the week after Gateway Legends Smacks, he also did an admirable job. Even though it didn't win them the game, he had some insane team fighting. He had some really good plays.
I think his team fighting is good.
Yeah.
So his team fighting has never been his problem. I don't think the team fighting for any of Cloud9 is a problem. I think their team fighting is some of the best. But I do think that his laning is a problem for Cloud9. It's making them lose a lot of early situations that they otherwise wouldn't.
Sure.
I think that King and Isles are laning so well. And they're doing it on many different styles too. Isles is playing. I haven't checked the stat. I'm pretty positive that Isles has the biggest champion pool of all supports in this split, just based on the fact that he's been playing like all these enchanters, all the tanks, like every single style, and King is making it work like every single time. So I'm
he also played
pretty
Senna
impressed
when King played Mundo.
Yeah, true. King is the delegated Senna player, so. Isles is the delegated Senna player. Excuse me.
Interesting.
So I think that's really cool. I think C9's bot lane is very
Didn't
good.
They also did the Zed Tarek against.
That was cool.
Yeah,
that was actually
so
really
dope.
cool. Yeah,
that was good.
That was really cool. Yeah.
Oh my god, I want to see Zed Tarek again, man. That I've never had so much fun watching.
It was a wild
bot
game.
Lane.
That was like 5 melee champs that could all like help Tarek like get stuns. That was fucking wild. That was really cool.
I think this team has very good moments, and I think that they're still going to place very well at Proving Grounds.
Yeah, I mean, they went from being the best academy team from spring to now being a really inconsistent team this summer, but they're still top 6 worthy. It's just because at their peak they can be a very strong team. But...
I think it's because the mid lane meta has shifted so many times in just this split alone. Like the mid champion pool, you have to be like so vast in this split to keep up. So I think that's been a thing that Copy has struggled through a little bit.
Slowly buff mage items.
Yeah, true. But I do think that with this tournament for playoffs and then the time off as well is going to be very good for them, and it'll help catch Copy up to speed when they're playing on this very consistent patch throughout the rest. I guess it depends on what Proving Grounds actually going to be on, but I think it is right now. Unfortunately, very much because of Copy, whether they win or lose actually. So we'll see how informed they are on Thursday. Okay.
Starting Thursday will be quarterfinals for Academy, and then we will wrap up this show as we go into LCS. And we're not gonna go into it too much because next week will be the episode where we talk about, I think, awards for the regular season for LCS. Yep. So, I think closing thoughts. I think the thing that got me emotional the most was Brox's interview with Dash after CLG's win. And I told this to Smacks and Cubby as well when I was in Boston last week, and I got to see a stream of Broxa after like that week, where it was the week where they needed to go at least 3-0 in order to be in contention to make playoffs, and off of that, they were no longer in playoffs no matter what they did come week 9. And it is such a... It's so sad to see Broxa that down. I know there's going to be the people that are like, well, they didn't put up the results. You know, that's what professional players need to do. I still feel...
Dude, he gave it his all the whole split long. You could tell, because like no jungler in their right mind is like, oh yeah, I think the best meta decision is to pick Vi for 8 games. Like he's clearly doing this to help activate his team and getting them like on board. And things like the Rek'Sai as well, like all of this stuff. So yeah. I have one positive thing to say about CLG, though. I tweeted it earlier. But after they just beat FlyQuest, they are the only team outside of the top 4 that has beaten every single team at least once. And that's really cool.
Dude, the
starting
LCS
a Team
is
Liquid,
drunk.
Yeah, starting a Team Liquid all the way down to CLG, all of those teams have gone 0-5 to at least one team. Yeah. CLG was missing a win against FlyQuest, and they just got it today.
That's drunk. That's actually just drunk. Oh my god.
It's hilarious. I'm kind of sad that nobody liked that tweet, because I think it's very cool. That's a very fun stat. Maybe
I think my live impersonation or impression of that was better.
Yeah. It's really interesting that they got to do that. So that's really cool.
I mean, it just goes to show that like that roster should have done better. And we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, and I feel bad for Bayora. And well, yeah, that yeah. But I feel bad for Bayora and Prussian, who, like, I mean, Prussian came in this split, but Bayora, you know, from the beginning, yeah, all the CLG players have given, strong feedback of like, yeah, all the research and the prep that you've done has helped us a lot. But the environment that they are in, that the way that they were being treated it is so fucking disgraceful that you can ruin 5 players like that and not set them up for success if you are managing for CLG or you're the administration for that. Because under any org, yeah, put that fucking same team in a like fucking even FlyQuest, man. Like, I know FlyQuest didn't make it to playoffs either, but it just feels like the environment was not set up for success on that roster.
Yeah, it's really weird, because like after if you're like watching a split like that and you're like a fan or something, what are your thoughts now about like players like Pobelter and Smoothie and Wild Turtle, especially those guys, because
that split alone, and this year alone, is almost damaging enough to mark the ends of some of our longest veterans of NA.
Yeah. It's really sad, because you think about like where these players are going to go in the off season. Like I think Broxa has definitely made a case to stick around, but like if you're a if you're like another team trying to pick up players or something, then like I don't know what you would do with these guys, or like what CLG can do for these 5 players. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
such a bad situation to be in, and it has been for a while.
You can make the argument that like, oh, well, Finn is the newest member on that team, and CLG just mishandled it poorly, which I mean they clearly did. And so another team who doesn't want to pick up an academy top laner and promote them to LCS going into this next season, sure they can go with Finn and try their luck and see what happens. But for players like Wild Turtle, Poe Belter, and Smoothie, because it's like I don't think they're bad players, but they just weren't set up to have a successful split. So now it's like, if you're an org owner or you're a manager and you're looking at like, okay, you know what? Because we're the same 3 people that want to promote domestic talent that new and fresh. Like, if you're Wild Turtle, and now you just come off the split where you went 10th in the second split and 8th in the first split, or was it 9th? 8th or 9th was CLG for spring. I think
it was 9. I think GGS was 10 for spring this year.
Golden Guardians was 10th, and then FlyQuest was 8th. Okay. So yeah, so 9th first, 10th split, and then 10th for the second one. So now you're looking at all this academy talent. You're looking at like Luger, Yawn, King if he wants to go to a different LCS team and not stay with Cloud9. Why not take a chance on those who are younger and newer? And like I'm not gonna buy into the whole thing like Wild Turtle is old, but I know that org owners are going to. So like, it's
tricky.
It feels awful.
We'll just have to see what they do, because they've got a new CEO. Greg Kim is in, so that's cool.
Yeah,
maybe that'll help up the off season or something. But we're not gonna know for months, I think, at this point. But
sure,
if that's
definitely
the case,
like,
they had great careers, and it is part of any competitive thing is that you retire, right? So we'll see.
We will.
Yeah, we have no
Wishing
idea
all those players the best of luck.
Yeah. I hope that from a sentimental standpoint that Wild Turtle and Poe Belter are not remembered for this split, but they're remembered, like, especially because I have a lot of sentimental attachment to Wild Turtle because he was literally one of the first pro players I've ever seen when I first started, like, both me and Smacks, like, no.
Yeah.
Debut pentakill on TSM. So I've all like, and I know Wild Turtle wasn't going to be around forever, right? But I always hoped that when he left, he would have done something and left on a greater note. Like, sure, maybe he didn't win the split, but I didn't want him to be on the team that ended 10th.
He clutched it out for Golden Guardians.
He did.
And you never wish that for any player, but someone's got to take 10th too, and they played bad this split. It was not a great split. There's no wonder. None of us are curious, like, why don't we get to see COG play in playoffs, right? They were the worst team in the league, and it sucks. Yeah. And I think that the shittiest part about it is what we heard about the org. Like, the behind the scenes, like, Sojin's tweet about, like, MSG and all that, and hope that gets fixed, but that's all I got for COG. I mean, it's not like...
Sad boy hours.
Yeah, whereas, like, for FlyQuest, like, I think that's a really interesting thing because a lot of people were pitching them as being a potential, top 3 team by the end of the year when the roster formed in the spring. Looking at you, Kelsey Moser, but
Jesus.
That obviously, like, they didn't develop, and that team, like, really fell off, and it was like really a bummer to see. Whereas, I mean, I think it's a positive story for Golden Guardians that, like, they got a lot better this split. But
very true.
Yeah.
They, how many wins did they have? 14, right? And then in the spring they only got 3.
Yeah.
They had 15 wins. Excuse me. So they literally they multiplied their wins by 5 just off of this split. That's crazy. Golden Guardians. Yeah, that's just so cool. What a fun
I'm
story.
happy for see, like, when I look at Golden Guardians and I see the results that they put up, and knowing the philosophy and the roster that they fielded, that's fucking awesome for me.
Yeah.
Like I didn't even I remember when they announced that roster. It's like, okay, Niles, Iconic, Blazol, Stixay, and Newbie. It's like, you know what? This roster probably doesn't make it to playoffs in spring. Maybe they can scrunch by in the second split. They probably won't. But you know what? And like I said before on many Raising an A episodes, I should probably not be the manager of an org because I would make very poor financial decisions in hopes of copium and, for the sake of development, because I would rather take a financial dive bomb to give players, enough time to develop, over 2 or 3 years, because when you look at traditional sports, there are players that take 2, 3, that same time frame, 2, 3 years to play in the major leagues before they finally start hitting a stride, and they last longer, and they have careers that span, at least, 10 plus years. So
now, there are like 50 teams in those leagues, to be fair.
Sure. And esports is because it's younger and it's newer. Orgs are pressured to make changes faster, so they don't have the luxury and the precedence that, there will be more LCS splits after, this one. And so, but still, I'm happy that they're going to go to playoffs. They're not going to make it far. That's okay. They got to develop players on that roster. And hopefully they come back next year and they can make a push for a higher seed.
They're going to Worlds this year, man. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
Arrow versus the world.
You want to take them over your favorite to win, EG Smack?
No, of course not. They're second seed.
Oddly enough, I feel like I was kind of pitching coming into this week that there are going to be 5 LCS and LEC teams that could possibly go to Worlds in any order, and I still feel that way in LEC. I don't feel that way after this week in LCS and after seeing the bracket.
Did you move to 4 or 6?
Oh, 4.
Okay.
I think Cubby is disappointed in one team's performance this week.
Well, TL, C9, or TSM, one of them cannot go to Worlds.
Oh, that's right.
With the bracket draw, it's guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that team is going to be C9.
So, do you think that they lose initially to Team Liquid?
No, but I think that Liquid or C9 get knocked out later, and I think that Liquid might knock him out later. Oh wait, no, that couldn't happen until 3rd, 4th. No, I think that I think that C9 I think the TL. I have faith that they come together into the next week and a half.
Okay,
and
so
I think that they're still built to beat C9 as a team.
So with the way that it works, as you're saying, TSM, C9, TL, those can't be our teams. Does that
one of those 3 cannot be the team?
Okay, so those can't be the 3. Wouldn't that just mean that the other one is I don't know. That's really interesting. I didn't consider all of this. Huh.
And
I don't know.
Whoever
keep
wins the 100 Thieves EG best of 5, that I think is pretty safe to say is highly likely. One of those teams goes to Worlds.
So the winner of EG 100 goes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And the winner of TSM versus C9 or TL makes it to Worlds. If you get a bye, it's one best of 5 to go to Worlds. And I think the teams that are going to lock it in right off the bat are TSM and EG.
I agree.
And I think that TL backdoor.
Okay, I'm caught up to speed now. I see what you're saying.
And I think that TL backdoor. So that's what I'm saying.
Okay. I'm on track now. I understand.
We've been a little bit slow this episode, but we're getting there.
Sorry.
It's been across the board.
We had a very fun opening to LCS today, and I don't think I've ever been the same since that. So
Mm.
if you didn't watch the Dig TSM game,
It was
well,
So
fun.
I guess
what?
depending on
What
who you are,
happened?
maybe you shouldn't watch that.
I was out and about,
Oh,
so I
they
did not.
forefund it. They were both already locked into their specific seed. Didn't have any effect, so they just forefund it. They all role swapped and like had troll bans and everything. It was pretty funny.
I see.
Neo's Jungle Gragas was pretty good though.
It's like 1v9.
Yeah, it was
It was
actually
actually
good.
like 1v9.
Wow.
Huni, not so much.
Nope. No,
So who
he went
played
Bork
who?
Rush on Viego Jungle.
Okay. You know what? Don't answer that question. I'll just look it up for myself. Uh,
Yeah, it'd be a lot to mention, but if you like fiestas,
If you like fun, it was fun.
go watch that. Okay, so that's really interesting. So I agree with you, Cubby. I think TSM 100 and Team Liquid. Well, I guess sorry. TSM EG and Liquid. I think that's interesting. I think TSM EG are my picks. The last one though, I think is going to be 100 Thieves. I
Really?
think
You
they'll
think that 100's going
yeah,
to come together?
I do.
I think that right
Um
now C9 and TL are looking much stronger.
Interesting.
I think that 100's
I
patch read
agree
is not as
to
good.
so Vulcan is really crushing it on C9. I think a very good thing for Cloud9 right now.
He got gapped by
And
Core today, but Vulcan's been
he
playing out of
did.
his fucking mind.
He's been
Been
very good.
1v9ing, like actually.
I think that's good news, but I still do take 100 uh over them. And maybe that's still the the closer fanboy in me, but
Okay.
I still think that FBI Hui is the strongest bot lane overall, and I think that they should match up well against what Vulcan is trying to do. And I still think that Team Liquid doesn't have a good answer to that because they only play on top side. So I think 100 gets in right there.
All
Yeah.
right. Interesting.
Mark, do you have it? What's your three? What's your three?
I've refrained from giving opinions on LCS just because I can't keep up with it, and Cubby basically called me out for and held and was right on 100 Thieves ending abysmally compared to their strength in the summer. And it like looking back when I made those, it's just like, I mean, how am I supposed to compete with someone whose job is to commentate LCS on an audio broadcast?
No, it's
only
not competing. I mean, like if you have opinions, you have opinions, and if not, then like
I mean, but
that's
my
fine.
opinions are like nowhere near like as accurately founded. I'm making statements based on results I see, and I don't get to see the games in full detail. So I don't get to see what you see at all. So I like, on raising NA, I want to do my best to facilitate conversation and give opinions, but I feel like I've given really misinformed and dastardly incorrect opinions, and it kind of feels bad. It's like, well, I don't really feel like I can give an opinions if I'm not seeing as much in detail as the games as my
Well, I just said that
co-host.
Zeus will win the tier 1, so fuck it. You know, we got two different
That's
approaches
true.
here, Rafa. But
It's very true.
yeah,
I mean,
Well,
like,
I mean that's okay, Mark. I think
I
that's
just like I wasn't like watching the games in
that's fine.
detail because and honestly I don't know how you were able to do semi-pro academy and LCS some weeks.
yeah, I don't know either.
Dude,
Because
this week it's like an off week for me. Like,
Yeah,
and
this next week is gonna be
I'm actually gonna be able to
Spectate
stream
City.
this week. Oh, I'm gonna do it. But that's a different topic. But yeah, it's fucking. Some of the non-stream semi-pro games amongst bad teams I've been dropping. That's how I get through it. So
yeah.
being
All
honest
I
with
will
those odds,
say
but,
about
yeah.
LCS playoffs is I hope that whoever fights for the top 3 seeds that they pour blood, sweat, and tears, and that at least one of them can make it out of groups when we go to Worlds this year. That's all I want.
Let's do
if we
it.
can get out of groups, then I won't fucking care.
He's
Then
gonna
I'll
be
save NA.
Golden Guardian.
Okay, so I actually legitimately think that like TSM, C9, or I think TL is gonna get through, but I actually think like we have 4 teams that will get smacked by every Chinese team that is sent, but I don't think that Korea is miles ahead. I think that everyone's just like miles behind it, like LPL. I think that Worlds this year is going to look like LPL is going to look like Season 4 LCK or some shit and just like run the table with everyone. But we'll see. Could be wrong. Games come a long way. So
maybe Whippo is the answer. Fnatic wins Worlds.
Maybe. Jesus. Yeah. Do we have any other LCS takes? Like anything else like want to wrap up? Anyone think that TSM's not going to win the tournament? I'm actually kind of curious about that. I think TSM are hands down in the best form right now.
TSM's going to win.
I think the only thing
Speaka's going to get MVP.
This is the best iteration of TSM I've seen since Season 6.
I think the only thing that I can say that, is just feels good to be validated that Spica was one of the best junglers I think I put him as the best jungler, and I was willing to fight Closer on that opinion because, before in all those games, Closer had all winning lanes, and Closer doesn't have to do that much, whereas Spica as is literally bridging the early game deficits that a lot of the other TSM lanes were experiencing.
Based on draft, oftentimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep, I think Spica is going to get MVP for sure.
No, that's a good point, Mark. Like he's been really good at hovering lanes, and like he still stays even in matchups despite hovering. He's gotten really good at that. I've been really impressed.
I think it's come a long way since we first saw Spica debut on TSM last year when he was put on Sejuani duty. On
his hair is lower now, so I think that means he's
the bull cut power is growing.
I think my favorite thing about Spica is that he is, apart from Lost, the greenest member on that team, and he just dominates everyone. He is like the most Chad alpha person on that team. And whether it's like...
I think he's the most that TSM jungle has ever had. Ever.
I don't
Season
think
6 Fen, baby.
I don't even know if that's true, like every single game.
I know like a lot of the content TSM has put out, they're memeing it, but like I don't think I've ever seen any TSM jungler like demand that much respect from players like Huni and Sword Art on the same roster. When you've had Huni, who has been in a World's Finals, and Sword Art, who has also been in a World's Finals, if I'm not mistaken, with Suning last year.
Yeah.
But so 2 fucking players in World's Finals, and Spica's talking to them like they're his dogs. It's like, no, you're gonna do this for me. You're gonna do this for me. Bark for me. And it's just like,
oh god,
Spica's a Chad, man.
This feels like a fucking Eve tweet. Fucking bark for me. Please no.
Oh man, she's been on a rampage on Twitter recently. Let's talk about something else.
Well, no,
all right. Well,
I think that
talk about, I guess.
I think Spica. So I do rate Spica really highly. But I think that a lot of people have actually been sleeping on Huni. I think that Huni's actually been having like an ungodly top lane split, and the only top laner that's been better is Impact. I think that him and Impact have been on another level, and he's playing really, really well right now.
Dude, Impact. I think Impact is just maybe the best player in NA right now. I'm
that's bold, but
core. It's still core JJ. It's still core JJ.
Honestly, so we're doing next week. We'll do our end of the year awards. I might have a few takes that are surprising.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll be a fun discussion. But that'll be our LCS topic next week. But I think for this week, playoffs start on the 7th and 8th. So yeah.
Oh really? For LCS?
So Saturday, Sunday.
Sounds good. I don't think that was public information. Maybe it was.
It's Saturday, Sunday, and then Thursday, Friday.
Great.
So, yeah.
Cool. Well, there you have it, everyone. That's going to be the show of Raising an 8. Do you guys have any last things that you want to say?
Yeah. Anyone cast anything this week?
We are.
Yeah. This is time for self plugs and promos. Rafa, where can we find you?
Smacks and I are. It is NA, but it's not League of Legends. But we are casting Wild Rift tomorrow and Tuesday, or so. This is Monday and Tuesday. This is the second qualifier for the first circuit.
And Saturday, Sunday, by the way.
And Saturday and Sunday. This will be the first major of this is the first circuit major of Wild Rift Summoner Series. And so just a brief explanation of how the Summoner Series works out is that Wild Rift Summoner Series has 3 circuit majors. There's one that's occurring this weekend. The second one will occur on the 28th and the 29th, which is also the same day as the LCS finals, unfortunately. And another one in September. And then technically there's a last chance qualifier that just feeds into the regionals in October. Yeah. But before each major, there are 2 weeks of qualifiers that occur for each upcoming major. Last week's qualifier was casted by the sexiest men alive in Kangas and Alk Battery, as determined by Twitch chat, which many people.
I'm excited to see what they say about us then, because I think we can take us.
So last week, that might be a day 2 option.
Maybe.
Last week, people called Kangas and Alk Budget, Azale, and Foxdrop. My guess is that I've been called Budget Scara in the past. For Smacks.
Well, the most recent one was Jesus and Sanchovies.
Oh yeah.
Dude, you do look like Sanchovies.
I know.
Bit of a problem. And your TikTok algorithm is not nearly as good as his. I guarantee it.
Yeah, it's true. But yeah, we're casting that. You can find us Monday, Tuesday, Saturday, Sunday. For Wild Rift. It'll be on Giant Slayer WR. So if you're interested in Wild Rift, we're casting that. And it's the best players in North America too. So that'll be pretty cool.
Think Cloud9 have to play in our qualifier again because they didn't.
Yeah, we're casting Tarzan, so that'll be cool.
Yeah, Tarzan on Cloud9. Very cool. And I think he's actually been really good with the team.
That seems very good.
Mm-hmm.
Other things that I'm doing, Tuesday's my birthday. That'll be fun.
Nice.
I'm turning 23. And
Zoomer.
I'm getting brunch with my mom. So you can't find me there. But
live stream it. IRL stream it.
I will not.
Well,
but
actually,
yeah, other than that,
you'll still find Smacks because on his birthday he's casting the second day of qualifiers for the second day of the second qualifier. So.
Yeah, that's true. Other than that, I think I actually am going to stream some TFT at some point this week because I am having a ton of fun with that. So I might do that.
Awesome.
We'll see. But
all right, guys. Well, I think that's a successful show. It was a good time. Thanks for joining us as always. To everyone listening at home, you can find us on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and on Anchor at the Proving Grounds Pod across the board. And we'll be back this week with another episode of the Proving Grounds Pod, hopefully on Thursday with a guest.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, thanks, Rafa. Thanks, Max. Had a good time. And see you guys next week for episode 10.
See ya.